Warning, the following audio transmission is based on theory and is intended for entertainment purposes only. It's Doomsday and its affiliates will not be held liable for anything your dumbass does. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome, everybody, to It's Doomsday podcast. Today is Monday, February 23rd, 2026, and joining me, as always, is local prepper. What's going on here?
Everything and nothing all at the same time.
Sounds a little exciting and a little boring. How's that working out for you?
Perfectly. It works out perfectly that way.
Perfectly awesome. So, to wrap up the 4 pillars of preparedness to make your table complete so it has 4 legs. The topic of today's show is shelter. And although it may be a very dry and boring topic, I think that it is important that we cover some bases with this topic, right? Because the experts say that you will only survive 3 hours in extreme weather conditions without proper shelter. What are you doing over there?
Who?
You, it's just so quiet. I feel like I'm by myself. What's going on?
I'm just you're talking, so I'm listening, you dork.
Okay, so all right, I'm gonna bounce this off you, right? I think there's two sides to this. There's the side that's you're at home, that's your shelter, but then there's also shelter on the go. You're bugging out, you're not coming back, that type of thing. And I'd like to kind of split this up and cover 2 sides of this. So I'd like to do the home side to this first.
Okay.
So in my mind, the way I see things through my spectacles is you're not going to go anywhere if it's the apocalypse, man. You're staying home. Okay? You're not going to venture out into the world, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to drastically lower your survival. Your life expectancy is going to go down the moment you step out the front door. If shit is truly hitting the fan. Okay.
Correct.
Now, in any capacity that may be, whether it's a biological attack, whether it's a terrorist thing going on, whether it's all-out civil war or civil unrest or banking crisis, whatever it is, stay home. You're better off there, okay? And we saw how stupid humanity is when everybody was so shitty about driving around and wanting to leave their house and being mad that they were stuck at home when we basically had this unidentified pandemic when it first started sweeping the nation, right?
Yeah.
So just on that note, what did you think when that was first happening? We went into the 2-week lockdowns. What were your thoughts?
Honestly, it's all about fear of the unknown. I do have a little bit of a background in chemical warfare. So I was a little worried. I had to go out that whole 2 weeks thing. I didn't really pay attention to it, to be honest with you, but I did take precautions. When I brought my groceries in, I didn't like sanitize my groceries or anything, but I did like take my shoes off. I did take my jacket off in the mudroom, that kind of thing, just so I'm just not like tracking stuff in. But for the most part, it, just knowing that you have that shelter to come home to is a good thing. I kind of ignored the whole thing. But I was cautious, paid attention to the news, kind of see what's going on, hoping for the best. What I guess the real question is what if, not to go off in the left field, but what if it really was a deadly virus?
Right. And that's where my mind was at. Like in the very beginning of this, when everybody was losing their minds, I'm telling my wife and my friends and people in my survival circle, we don't know what this is, but we need to not take it lightly. We need to take it seriously. Yeah. Because this could be nothing or it could be way worse than what they're telling us. Because on one hand, it could be a situation where they don't want all-out chaos and destruction in the streets, so they're dumbing this down, or they're overinflating it for another reason. I said, so let's just take it seriously till we see what's really going on here, okay?
Yep.
And how you said you came back to your shelter, you came back to your home, and it was the good place to be after seeing the craziness and out there at Walmart or wherever it is that you went.
Yeah.
Now, when we talk about shelter, this is where you're keeping your food stocks. This is where you're sleeping. This is where you're safe from extreme weather fluctuations, whether below freezing temperatures or temperatures that are too hot to be outside. This is keeping you dry, nice and protected, right? Protecting you from mosquitoes and animals and whatever else is in the outdoors, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's really important, I think, that we talk about kind of fortification of structures, okay? Like what you can do in different circumstances. And if you're prepping for one thing, you're kind of prepping for them all. That's what I like to think, because so many different circumstances, the same rules apply. All right. So I'm just going to throw something at you. If you've got a nuke that gets dropped up in New York and we're expected to be in the fallout zone, that's more than survivable, right? If you take the proper precautions. Okay. It is totally a survivable thing. Biological warfare, if they're spreading disease or something in the air, it is again survivable because those winds will eventually pass. This will eventually pass, right? But the fortification of your structure would be the same in both of these things. And it's not all that complex to do, but you have to have the forethought to know what to do. Okay. So we did an episode a while ago on apartment survival, and we talked about different ways to fortify an apartment. Okay. And different ways to stop contaminants from coming in the event of fallout, biological contaminants, whatever the case may be. And little things people negate. The idea of sealing up entry points to your home. And we're not talking about sealing them up against, an attacker. We're talking about what's in the air. So the idea of having rolls of contractor bags and duct tape to seal doorways and windows is fantastic. The idea of being able to have wet towels to put underneath door jambs and gaps because the water particles will stop the air from coming through, right? These type of things, I think a lot of people kind of fall off the radar. And like me, I carry like heavy, thick plastic here. Like it's like a 6 mil plastic that I keep here with extra duct tape, mainly for projects around here, but also for that what if some shit happens factor, right? Yeah. We're able to go and we're able to seal up the windows and the doors. And in doing this, you're ensuring your survival in your structure longer. Does that make sense?
Of course.
Okay. And there are some things Americans do every year that they don't realize that they would be doing in the event it's a shit hit the fan situation. So you know how we talk about like winterizing our pipes in the winter? Did you winterize your pipes?
No, I didn't.
Oh, shit. You're not going to make it, dude.
I know. I keep forgetting to do it. I haven't been back to I don't spend a lot of time at the property, so I probably should do that. Maybe this summer I'll do that.
Right. So, and that's just, it's an interesting little prep, but this ensures that your shelter is going to be functioning properly. Right. Mm-hmm. The running water, because this is, I guess, in my mind, when one thing starts going to shit, they all go to shit. So the moment you don't have running water, you can't flush your toilet. The moment you can't flush your toilet, your whole house starts becoming unsanitary. And this is the same place you're cooking in. This is the same place you're eating in. Right. Mm-hmm. So then you start running the risk of, cross-contamination with bacteria. And if the water's not running, you can't even wash your hands to prepare the food. Right. So there's all these little different things. And I know I'm going way out, on a limb here to try to keep this boring shelter survival episode going, because it's not a glamorous topic, guys. It's just not. Yeah. So I'm trying to church it up. I don't know. You got anything you want to throw in on this? Disco balls. Good idea. It's a great idea.
Disco balls. Well, I mean, it's so the general idea here in America is in Western preparedness is that we never really think about our shelters because they're a given. We all have a roof that we sleep underneath unless we're a bum or a homeless person, right? So we kind of look at it as it's kind of a given. It's going to happen. It's almost like, hey, when I turn this knob, the water's going to come out, and if I turn the other one, the hot water's going to come out. We have a tendency to think that way. So you're right in the whole idea behind making sure that you have the ability to maintain your shelter. So we're, like not taking it for granted. You know what I'm saying? One of the things that I do because, the property that's in the property that's in Hurricane Alley there in North Carolina, It's in Hurricane Alley. So one of the things that I do is I've actually constructed large pieces of plywood and using just a simple 2x4 and a bolt. I can put up these window protectors. And that will literally protect my windows. Like, it's cool. 3/4 inch plywood. They're heavy. You put them in, one bolt holds the whole thing together. It kind of reinforces the structure, but it also gives me the ability to stay in my home if up to category 3 decides to hit it.
Right.
So, little things like that. It's a different perspective, but I think that yours is probably better because, obviously, I have all these things, when you talk about the water situation, I've got backups for my water if my pipes break, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So yeah, I think it's a good mentality to have, to think about your home and being able to maintain your home, or your shelter in this case, during certain bad times.
So to go off on something that you said, because I used to live in Florida and I understand the boarding up the windows and things like that. And something that I never did when I lived up north, and I guess it was just kind of given because we had tarps laying around everywhere, but just the idea of tarps selling out during a hurricane was something that was like kind of mind blowing to me. But people are expecting roof damage, right? So they go out and they buy all these tarps and things because, if something flies through the window of your car, you want to get that covered pretty quick so you're not getting water damage. If a window gets busted out of the house, a bunch of shingles come off the roof, everybody's breaking out the tarps to protect, their structure. But it's the idea of having, and that got my brain kind of moving into the idea of having things around your house for maintenance capabilities. So you can fix things when they do break, right? So you mentioned you had, the wood laying around to board up the windows and the doors. Well, it doesn't hurt to have extra wood laying around or extra nails and a hammer laying around to fix things up if something does go wrong.
Most definitely.
Now, if you have some jackwagon, that tries to break into your place during a storm and he goes through a window or whatever, the idea of getting that repaired right away isn't going to be feasible. The idea of you breaking out a tarp or a piece of wood, though, and boarding it up or tarping it over to protect yourself better from the elements is very feasible to do.
Oh, yeah.
So that's kind of, I just kind of go back to the idea of, if you're not good at home maintenance, I understand that. If you don't know how to pound in a nail, which, to me, that's just like a very hard train of thought. But if you're not one of these people that is not inclined or knows how to do these things, it might be beneficial to you to start watching some YouTube videos, some DIY things or learning how to do stuff. We all had shop class, but I think shop class has since came out of schools. I don't think it's like it was. Right.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not like it was. A shop class is pretty much, in today's day, the shop class has been replaced by YouTube. But that's not a totally bad thing, because people should be thinking about how to fix things around the house and literally using that exact statement. How to just go into the YouTube search engine and go, how to fix XXX. And 20 videos are going to pop up showing them how to do it. Gearless, everything. That's what they should be doing.
So there's how can I put this? There's a fine line between no, I wouldn't say a fine line, but there's a big ass line between a professional and a DIY guy, right? So don't expect to go out and become a professional from watching YouTube videos. That's not going to be a thing. You're going to learn how to do things just good enough, right? Being good at construction and repair work takes a lot of experience. It takes years of practice. It's just, making a lot of mistakes along the way. You will make mistakes. Right. But I do want everybody to bear in mind, if you do start becoming inclined to fix things when they break at your home, if you're doing things correctly, you will save money over hiring a repairman. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. And the cost of manual labor these days is through the roof.
Mm-hmm. Pun intended. So I did an interview one day with a gentleman named Chris Weatherman. He was on the show Lost, I think. Or I don't know, the show where they drop you off in the middle of nowhere, whatever survival show that is. Anyway.
Alone.
Yeah, that's what it was. Alone. Yes. He was on Alone. And he brought up a good point about the house that I had never thought about.
Mm-hmm.
He said, put a valve in your septic line.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, you got to think about it, man. If you're on city hookups and everybody's shit starts backing up, it's coming to your house. And if you're on the lower end of the block, man, you're screwed.
Yep.
And I'm like, whoa, that's something I would have never thought about. That's amazing. Right. I'm on a septic, so it's really not a big issue for me.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a big issue. But it did get me thinking, like, so one thing I'm doing is with our new home build, I'm building a clean out that is much lower than the house, right?
Uh-huh.
To where if things do start backing up, like the toilet's not going down, I'm starting to get water in the shower basin, and it's like, oh shit, something's wrong.
Yeah.
I can go pop that clean out before major damage happens.
Yeah.
Like I can go do that. And if shit hits the fan and the septic's backed up, well, guess what? I'm going to plumb that in, and that shit's just going right over the hill.
There you go.
That's it. I mean, as disgusting as it might sound, like that is the backup plan. We will just open up that clean out and we will just screw a piece in there, and that shit can just fly right down the hill. I don't care. It's gone.
Literally.
It's out of sight, out of mind. Can't smell it. It's way far away. I'm good. It's fine. I don't care. So, but these are these circumstances that I guess most people don't think about.
Well, yeah, because they get comfortable.
Yeah.
They get comfortable.
You get very complacent walking in your front door every day and flicking on the light switch. You get very complacent. Like, how many people here actually go and check to see if the shower works before taking off all their clothes to get a shower? You don't. You take your clothes off, then you turn the water on because you're just expecting it to work. One day it's not going to. Then what do? Right? So everybody, I guess, has the idea of, have the solar power, have the backup generators, have these things. These things are all fantastic. But if your shelter's falling apart around you, they're not going to do you much good.
It's very true.
Right. So you have anything else on the shelter of the home shelter?
Well, I mean, there's, it's like one of the things that you talked about is you basically what you're hitting on is long-term durability, but with that said, you should probably also consider maybe hardening some of the outbuildings or caches, it's some people might make a safe room. But, then there's other things like what's your backup heat source, insulation, warmth backups, that kind of thing, because it's nice. It's like if your shelter is if you're forced to live in a tin shelter, you're still going to freeze and die. You're just going to do it dry,
Right.
But when we talk about our homes, a lot of people don't understand, like during the summertime, you can open a window if you don't have air conditioning or anything like that. But during the wintertime, houses that aren't very well insulated, they get pretty cold inside.
Right.
So if they don't have the house isn't well insulated, or if they don't have a positive heat source, they're going to have a bad day. I just think that people just need to make sure that they take care of their homes, because if they don't, then their home's not going to take care of them.
Right. That's kind of the whole basis of this, I guess you could say, this not ongoing argument, but just the idea of why we're trying to nail this home, why we're pushing this hard, is because it is something that does need to be taken serious.
Oh yeah.
I was going to say, I guess, like, I grew up in a house that was very weirdly built, right? And some rooms were, it was a little house that they just kind of kept adding on to over the years, right?
Yeah.
And depending on who the contractor was, depended on how good of a job they did, right? So some rooms had like zero insulation and would be freezing cold in the winter.
Yeah.
Right. They would be just as hot in the summer. Other rooms had like good heat, good insulation. Like maybe if you were cold, you went in this room and hung out for a little while. It was very strange, like not even climate throughout. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, some people out there, if your power has never gone out in the winter, or your heat's never gone out in the winter, then you might not know how well your house is actually insulated. Right.
Yeah.
It's very, very interesting.
Yeah,
how that can kind of work out.
Yeah, well, the other thing too is a lot of people don't understand that most modern homes are they're almost a vacuum. They breathe just enough because they have to be built with certain insulative values these days. It's like if you if like your front door was left cracked open and you slammed your back door, there should be enough vacuum in there that the other door would move,
Right.
And a lot of people don't know that. And if they have a modern home that doesn't happen, that means that there's likely lots and lots of leaks, and their home is not going to stay cold or warm in either the summer or winter.
So I think it was back in the 90s, maybe it was the 90s, maybe early 2000s. There was a company out there, I don't remember who it was, and I don't remember what they were selling. I think they were selling AC or windows, one of the two. And they kept running these commercials on TV where they would show these houses under like infrared, right?
Yeah.
And they would show all the hot zones where it was like leaking. And it was always around the doors, the windows, like maybe one vent in the attic. Like they would show this in this TV commercial. And I think, at that point in time, obviously they were trying to sell a product, but I think that got people thinking back then, like, how drafty is my house? And then I heard a lot of people start using the term drafty, after that.
Yeah.
And that was kind of wild for me to hear that, or wild for me to witness these commercials, then see the trend along with it, everybody being worried about, is the home holding enough heat? Is it holding enough cold? Like, this is what's making our utility bills go through the roof. And it does, and it will, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's also taking this back from what you're saying, this idea of the house being sealed up and being this vacuum. This is also the thing that's going to protect you in the event we do have this nuclear fallout or biological warfare. When we have these things going on, if there's very nasty air of death coming in, the better sealed up your house is, the more likely you are to survive it.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I don't know. What else you got in this realm? Any don'ts? We got a lot of do's. We got any don'ts?
I wouldn't say it's not really a don't, but a lot of people presume that because they have a fireplace that they're somehow safer. I think it was in the 80s when they started this whole, like, making sure that, like we were talking about, the house has only breathes so much. And when they started to make all these laws that talk about, or regulations that talk about tolerances as far as like how much air can move in and out of a house, they decided that the first thing they do is get rid of the fireplaces. That's why you see a lot of modern homes don't have fireplaces.
Right.
Because that is the biggest place that air can actually get through. And then if you lead that to, say nuclear fallout or chemical warfare or whatever it may be, it's the biggest gaping wound in your house if you have a fireplace.
Right.
God forbid you use it during fallout. you're just making it even worse. So you probably need a way to seal that up, or to make sure that your flue has some kind of seal on it, which is really difficult to find. I would probably try to find a way to seal it up in the event of a radiation or nuclear fallout.
So I've seen a few different options in regards to that. So like my parents, we had an old Kodiak stove in our house,
mm-hmm.
and it had dampers on it, and it had a seal all the way around the door. And if the flue was open or not, I mean, it really didn't matter because that all sealed off, but you still had points for airflow. So this would be as simple as going over a couple holes and a couple gaps with a caulking gun, and that's sealed. When it comes to the open fireplace, something I have seen, which I can't say that I've seen in recent years, and I just can't think of the last time I've really seen it, is they used to have trays that would go under, like your actual open fireplace would go under the chimney and above the burn box. And this was done to prevent animals from entering the home.
Yeah.
During the summertime months when you weren't using these things. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like a metal tray, like, the size of a cookie sheet or something. And it would just slide in there, and you didn't have to worry about, a bat coming into your house or a bird ended up coming into the house. You didn't have to worry about that. But even still, it brings up another thing. So a lot of houses have hood vents for their stoves. Yeah. And I just assumed, like when we got our first house, I just assumed the hood above the stove, because it wasn't a propane stove, it was an electric stove. So I just assumed that just put the fumes up in the attic from whatever you were cooking, right? But no, it was actually ventilated. And I didn't know it was going to the outside world until one day I pulled the filter out just to look and found like some dead lizards in there and shit. And then I was like, oh, okay, so this is actually going. And then, shortly thereafter, I ended up doing some things on the roof and actually found the vent. So that's another good weak, well, I guess bad weak point for your home too, or the hood vents. Also a bad thing, right? And if we're talking about that, you might also want to consider checking out your bathroom exhaust fan vent.
Yep, I was about to say, all your bathroom exhaust fans.
Right, and then your dryer
fan.
They
should vent outside. Vent. Now you dryer vent too, yeah.
Yeah, so these are things like I know I can't think of a house that I ever lived in that had a vent that vented outside. But I know that, and this is going to sound kind of goofy. So as we're building this new house, I am putting in vents that do vent outside for the bathrooms, like specifically doing that.
Yeah.
And I got to thinking about it, like, how could I really seal these up? And it's not the idea of a prep. It's the idea of stink bug season is bad here.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to do everything I can to prevent these little shits from getting in everywhere. Right. And they're wickedly, they love electronics, man. They absolutely love power sources. So if there's a fan up there with power to it and a light fixture, and they have a direct line from the outside world, they're coming in. So I've had this kind of thought about, what if I would just make that vent a 90-degree piece of PVC with a cap on the end, right? And just have two different caps to screw in there. One that has a screen on it that lets the air flow out, but doesn't let the bugs come in. But then simply have another one that is just a solid cap that I could screw on there in the event shit does hit the fan.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you can dream it, you can do it.
Right. I mean, that's kind of where I'm currently sitting with it. I think that might be the kind of the best idea to go with, but it's also one of those situations, until you really know what you're plagued with, you don't really know what you're protecting yourself against, so to speak.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's about all I got for the shelter, man. I guess for the listeners out there, just, take it serious. Understand that if you plan on bugging in and you don't plan on going anywhere, that structure, as soon as it starts to fail, everything else you've put inside that structure is also going to fail. Doesn't matter how much you've canned, how much food you've stocked, how much toilet paper you have in reserve, or if the solar works or not. If that structure starts to fail, all that shit's going to be useless.
100%.
That's it, man. I want to thank everybody for listening today. If you haven't already, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the show. We would greatly appreciate it. LP, you got anything else before we're going?
Negative, Rampart.
All right, we're out of here.
This is an emergency action message. At approximately 1 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, NORAD is tracking 15 ICBM nuclear missiles inbound to the following cities: Orlando, Miami, Pittsburgh, Dover, Newark, Richland, Philadelphia, New York City, Baltimore, Los Angeles, Las Vegas, Boston, Seattle, Detroit. This is an extremely deadly situation. Stay tuned. The next emergency message will be a presidential address.